Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ficci Fast Track Digital Conference. As you all know, 21 years of Ficci frames, and we are going strong with a large amount of policies, large amount of discussions, and uh, a mobilization of various aspects of media and entertainment in India and India's impact on the global content economy. And as you all know, that the digital content is actually been into the focus ever since the last 2 decades, but more so in the pandemic time. And we had started this initiative of Fast Track Digital 5 years ago. We had a very successful four conferences apart from 21 50 frames. The Most of these conferences we used to make it happen in Andheri, uh, in Mumbai, but this time being pandemic, we are all truly digital, and it gives me a great pleasure to see how the digital content actually has captured the whole imagination and the consumption amongst its audience. At the same time, all the stakeholders in this fraternity actually are being very, very alert and have looked at repositioning and recrafting every single aspect of the digital content economy. And now that we actually have a surge of the OTT and a whole lot of other aspects of the gaming, animation, visual effects, extended reality, and other form of the social media actually capturing, your screens. And truly, as we live in the screen era, everybody is engaged all the time with their screens to do anything and everything. And that's why today we are going to actually have a very interesting lineup of speakers. While we have seen a huge amount of OTTs actually making it, and then you see the policies issues at the same time, the content of a different kind emerging into our spaces. We also have seen a large growth of various other areas in the digital payment segment, plus the sports ecosystem and the gaming ecosystem. While we have all these happening, we also have a huge amount of startup ecosystem in the space of the digital and the social media verticals. And we have seen some cutting edge startups like Attention, To Gathering, Fair Draw, and many, many others who are actually going to be the next big ideas out of India. And to put all this thing together, the team at Ficci, our media and entertainment, has always been proactive in setting this conference up to make sure that the best ideas are discussed, the policies discussed. At the same time, we are able to carve out a growth path for our industry very strongly. While we have, very eminent speakers today for the opening ceremony, I would like to quickly introduce you to Belinda, who is President and Managing Director of the Motion Picture Association for Asia Pacific region. And she leads the association and the team to promote the commercial activities and the creative interest of the region's screen community in the digital age. At the same time, prior to this role, she was in the AT&T acquisition team, and when the AT&T acquired Times Warner, she managed the Asia Pacific Government Affairs Office for all business units of AT&T, including AT&T Communication and Warner Media Group in the Asia Pacific region. Before this, she was actually a legal and the corporate affairs deputy director at the Microsoft Hong Kong office. and looked after the complete intellectual property policy and regulation. At the same time, she actually has a very illustrious career. She has been a member of several boards. She was the chairperson of the Business Software Alliance of Hong Kong and Macau. She served on the board of USA ASEAN Business Council, National Center of APEC, American Chamber of Commerce of Hong Kong. At the same time, she is presently a president of International Women's Forum Hong Kong and sits on its board. So we are going to be very fortunate to listen to her. She is presently traveling. So we are going to have a big video message from her. And we have seen, the Motion Picture Association has a big presence in India, headed by Uday Singh. He's also going to speak in the conference today. And we have been actually having a large amount of interaction with them. And then we are going to have a very special address by Justice Prathiba Singh ji. She's present with us today. It's a court time, but she's here with us. She actually is very close to what we do in the media and entertainment and the content space. She has been a very eminent person and have handled landmark matters in the IPR law, including patents, trademarks, design, copyright, internet laws, and everything that we deal with in this industry. At the same time, she she was invited as an expert to present views on parliamentary committees considering amendments to the Patent Act in 2002, Copyright Amendment in 2012, and Geo Indicators Act, etc. But what I would like to tell you is that she is a member of the IPR think tank, which was, actually responsible for the momentous task of drafting India's first national IPR policy. And I think these policies have impacted us immensely. And we are going to be very, very fortunate today to see, a kind of an guideline that comes to us. And presently, she is a justice, honorable justice of Delhi High Court. She actually have appeared in several cases in the Honorable Supreme Court and the High Courts of Delhi. At the same time, we are going to have our beloved Dilip Chenoy ji, who is our current Secretary General of Ficci, but we know him for a long period of time. He served as Managing Director and CEO of the National Skills Development Corporation, has actually built that from the beginning in a very strong way. And he is a member of Board of Governors at IILM New Delhi, at the same of Board of Studies for Indian All India Management Association. At the same time, we see him to be a front person all the time, taking lead and being a go-getter for all the activities that we do at Ficci. We actually look at him as a guiding force for all the time. He has several awards to his credit. But without wasting much time, I would like to welcome you all in our 5th edition of Fast Track Digital Conference of Ficci. And we would like to see that the interactions go well this today. And to start the whole process, we would like to first welcome Ms. Belinda Louise address, and Arunji, if with your permission, we will first have that address and then get Justice Prathiba Madam to speak. Amirji.
Yes, Chandan, please run.
Ashish Kulkarni for that kind introduction. First, thank you to friends at Ficci for the opportunity to partner with you. In In these trying times, we send our very best wishes to all of you in India in the hope that you and your families stay healthy and that your lives can return to near normal in the not too community has been deeply affected by the pandemic as restrictions have been placed on production and exhibition in India. We're encouraged, however, by the spirit, ingenuity, and unity of all of you in the screen community to find ways to support each other, solutions to the challenges of the day. One sector that has led the charge in innovating to deliver the best possible experience for audiences in the demand industry. The year-on-year growth of this sector in India suggests that audiences are responding very well to both the content offering and the many ways they can consume it. And around the globe, 2020 has been a year during which audiences have continued to discover the appeal of stories from India. Have all come to learn the benefit of algorithms that offer up new shows that match their viewing behavior. That's good news for producers of Indian content as audiences across the globe develop new appreciation for your stories and your culture. The incredibly dynamic nature of the VOD industry, led by highly talented professionals, has helped deliver a very high standard of storytelling. It's a competitive environment with over 40 services vying for the audience's attention. India is perhaps unique in the range of offerings that has enjoyed remarkable success for both the subscription and advertising models. Millions of Indians enjoy a premium viewing experience supported by advertising, while others choose to consume their favorite shows without. One report projects that by 2025, only 4 years from now, the mix could equate to $1.5 billion for subscription revenue and $2.5 billion for advertising revenue. The number of factors that contribute to positioning India as one of the fastest VOD markets in the world include the enthusiasm of loyal fans who love their content, the range of viewing options available to audience, the issues developing these offerings, and the connectivity of the country, where the expectation is that 500 million people will have subscribed on services by 2020. This forecast of 500 million subscribers does add up when you realize that India has been adding 8.6 million new connections on average every month since September 2018. The Times of India in November that the number of connections had grown to a staggering 767 million, with a great percentage of those on broadband. Expected to arrive within the next 12 to 18 months. The media and entertainment industry has yet further motivation to respond with creative content offerings. The panel sessions today will be a good opportunity to address how best the industry can and continue to supply high-quality streaming services, which in turn make to contribute to India's economy. I'm looking forward to hearing creative industries can continue to be strengthened to support livelihoods and protect valuable creative content. I'm also intrigued to listen in how the latest experiences for users. All of this good work, however, will be undertaken under the cloud of piracy, which negatively affects all of us working in the filming, television, and streaming industry. Not only a direct affront to your businesses during these challenging times, but it's also a setback for all of our consumers to try and change behavior so that only legitimate sources for content. Quoting a good friend of the MPA in India, Rajkumar Akela, a recipient of the MPA Asia Pacific Copyright who said that while cinemas were closed, audiences were dividing their time between television, online video services, and piracy sources, which between 30 to 40% of viewing will more greatly impact the production companies. While it's an obstacle, we applaud the committed, collaborative approach of the streaming community in India to combat piracy and to continue the education process. Our work to protect the copyright that benefits all of us through every form of distribution channel will not stop. We're proud of the progress PA continues to make in combating online piracy under the banner of the Alliance for Creative Entertainment, known as ACE. ACE is the world's leading coalition dedicated to reducing piracy and protecting the legal marketplace for creative content. In just over 3 years, ACE has grown to include 35 leading global media and entertainment companies, with Apple TV Plus becoming ACE's newest member. It also remains proactive in addressing online piracy by disrupting and disabling access to the most egregious online websites, seeing reduction in traffic as a result. The research also shows that site blocking leads to increasing uptake of legitimate services. We note the recent announcement of the closure of notorious piracy site Tamil Rockers, which traded off the theft of intellectual property, as testament to the efforts of rights holders in protecting the rights of all creators. So there is a strong will to support legitimate business and create the best possible playing field for success. With that, I thank you again and hope you enjoyed today's conversations.
Thank you, Belinda. That was a wonderful address, and we wish you a very safe flight back home to Hong Kong from London. But very rightly said, the issues of copyright and the piracy and the content protection is something that concerns all of us. And who other than Honorable Justice Prathiba ma'am, who is going to actually do a special address for us, would throw some light on this, and with the interesting lineup that we have on the digital, copyright areas, the regulation, digital content regulation, and also the content technology and the business models today, as we discuss during the day. This is going to be a great beginning, and we are all eagerly waiting for you, madam, to listen to you through your special address. If you can unmute yourself, I would like you to start right away so that all of our audience can listen to you.
A very good morning to all of you today. It's a cold winter morning in Delhi, and it's quite foggy as well. So I'm sure the OTT platform and all the viewers who are participating in this program today already know the importance of OTT and digital platforms, especially during the pandemic. And I don't think it requires any introduction that, whenever something as bad as the pandemic happens, there's always a silver lining. And I guess that the silver lining is for the OTT and VOD platforms, which have really grown in the last 6 or 8 months. So, Mr. Chawla, Mr. Kulkarni, and everyone from Ficci, all the participants, it's good to be back again with Ficci. I've already done at least 2 events, I think, during the lockdown with Ficci, and this is my 3rd event. And I just hope this pandemic ends quickly and we all can do a live physical event rather than an online event. So my address today is going to be short.
Amit, I think you need to talk to them. We have some internet bandwidth issue.
I'll just check, sir.
They'll just come back again because it invariably goes off in that area.
think Uday is also joined us. Good morning, Uday. How are you? You have to unmute yourself. Dilip ji, good morning. How are you doing?
Morning, Uday. Morning,
They're just
Abhi.
fixing the internet for justice.
Okay, Amit. Thank you. Uday, you logged in from 2 devices?
Uday, you have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
No, he's logged in from 2 devices, I think. Is Uday saying
Yeah,
NT?
I think so.
The same thing, yeah. Okay. Now you're
Yeah.
Yeah, I was having problems with onboarding since morning.
Okay.
Uh,
So that was a good address from Belinda.
Yeah.
Sir, we have Honorable Justice come back.
Yeah, there is a little bit of time lag when you actually are doing it on the streaming through this, conferencing. But she spoke extremely well, and so it's going to be very fruitful discussions today. And I know you are on the very next session itself.
Honorable Justice logged in and got logged out again. She is again logging, sir.
Yes. So let me tell the audience in the meantime, at 12 noon today, we have a session called Digital India Copyright Act, redefining the future of creative works. So you must attend that session, which is going to be a very interesting session, followed by a session called Digital Content Regulation,
Yes.
learning from
I'm
best global practices. Welcome, madam. You can start again.
Yes, there was an electricity failure here, so I had to connect my dongle. I'm sorry. It's okay.
Thanks.
I think I have to start again.
Yeah.
Yes, as you all know that creativity is an integral part of India's social, political and cultural ethos. The diversity in India across various regions, languages, communities has led to a large number of creative works being generated, whether in the area of handicrafts, traditional knowledge, films, music, painting, sculpture, etc. In fact, I don't think we can have a conservative estimate of how many works are created in India. But I know as a matter of fact, in terms of quantum, India is the largest generator of creative works in the world. But, this has not led to the same amount of revenue streams and exploitation, which may be available in most markets. But broadcasting industry is one area where I think creative content has had a large amount of space for itself, and it has been able to generate a large amount of revenue, creative producers and creative content creators. So if you all trace back the history of broadcasting, the creation of the All India Radio in the 40s and Doordarshan in the 60s and 70s was just a very humble beginning. The early 90s saw the broadcasting industry blossom with the entry of private broadcasters. There was a time when India had only a few hours of television broadcasting in a day, and today there are more than 1,600 number of channels operating 24 hours a day. All types of television channels and delivery platforms are available in India, whether they are free-to-air, encrypted television, pay television, video on demand, cable channels, DTH, etc. These platforms are also quite diverse in their offerings, like Belinda said about game shows, game apps, all kinds of offerings are available on these platforms. But the biggest change in this technology has been the entry of smart television. The TV now doubles up like a computer. All internet-based platforms can now be accessed on television. One could never have imagined that we can see YouTube on television. We used to only watch YouTube on computers. Thus, there has been a complete convergence of media and devices. The difference between telephone, computer, radio, television today is in fact non-existent. Now, this is insofar as technology is concerned. What about the law? The court's tryst with broadcasting has ranged from licenses for cable TV towers to deciding complex issues in copyright law. I clearly recall a writ petition which one of the cable TV operators had to file because one of the corporations in Delhi was pulling down their cable tower itself. So those were the very simple kind of litigations which broadcasters faced in the late 90s and in the early 2000s. And today we actually face a large number of complex copyright litigation. I clearly recall that in the initial years of my practice, in one case, an owner of copyright had a right for encrypted television in respect of a movie. That particular company sought an injunction against a company which was doing a free-to-air broadcast of the same movie. And at that time, you would be amazed, there was no internet, there was no way to access the difference between free-to-air and encrypted television. Explain this to the judge. The year 2001. And I recall in looking at the I went to the Australian Broadcasting Act to find the difference between where and which was sometime 97 it was enacted at that act, and I was able to get a copy of it. I was able to cite it to the court to give the difference between encrypted to version. And obviously that site, I must say it's been a pleasure regularly for across the country with various issues concerning broadcasting. Since then, the broadcasting industry and courts have got used to the nuance and niceties of broadcasting. Before release of every film, we see courts being faced with case filed by the user or by the television who say being done. This is in all thing for the plays vertical exhibition of films taking place. And courts have actually devised very innovative remedies such as dynamic injunctions, protection against rogue websites to protect copyright owners. And in fact, in my previous address in Ficci, I mentioned various innovative remedies which and effective type of broadcasting, issuing copyrights, protection of copyright are all quite well settled, and courts and legislations have actually kept pace with the technology. One major issue, which I would say is the regulation. It has been a very challenging issue. And the advent of OTT platforms and VOD has actually further confounded these challenges. I'm sure participants would be aware that we are basically governed by broadcasters are governed by the program code, advertisement code, and to the extent that the broadcasters deal with films, they are broadcasting legislation was not met with approval by the industry, and broadcasters, and have also provided for an authority headed by independent judges for entertaining complaints against broadcasters. The voluntary nature of these organizations and the multiplicity of organizations has in recent times created confusion, as several players have chosen not to be part of these self-regulatory framework. So there are various examples of challenges that have arisen in the recent times, which all of you are well aware, and details of which need not be gone into for the present. These issues which confront broadcasters, the regular television and other broadcasters would now arise even for OTT, VOD and other platforms whose popularity has got an impetus during the pandemic. As it is said, one man's medicine is another man's poison. The pandemic is the biggest example of this. Traditional platforms such as theatrical platforms and free-to-air televisions are slowly out of favor during the pandemic. The subscriber base of OTT, VOD and such platforms have grown in geometric proportions. The statistics were mentioned by Belinda, and I don't need to repeat them. Some self-regulation is on the anvil in the form of the Universal Self-Regulation Code for online curated content providers. However, the expanse and the effectiveness of this code is not known. And these platforms have been recently also brought under the MIB regime with the amendment in the allocation of business rules. So the challenges, according to me, for these OTT and VOD platforms have just begun. While there can be no specific solution to the issues currently being faced by broadcasters in general and digital platforms in particular, I would actually commend that inspiration should be taken from other self-regulatory or independent redressal mechanisms which can be used as models for OTT and VOD and broadcaster platforms in general. One model that really comes to my mind is the model of the domain name dispute resolution, which was set up in the initial stages when domain names were being registered. The creation of the Uniform Dispute Resolution Policy, which a large number of legal practitioners are quite aware of, is one of the most successful independent regulatory mechanisms that is applicable and enforced globally for more than 2 decades. And I recall that when domain names were being registered and trademark owners were having problems with domain names, the UDRP became the biggest solution for them. And the registration of domain names which had impinged upon trademark owners' rights had caused a lot of consternation at the advent of the internet. The same was redressed by the UDRP. It provided a mechanism for third parties who had grievances to avail the services of independent service providers to resolve disputes. The said service providers were totally outside the ambit of ICANN or the registering companies like Network Solutions or GoDaddy. More than 65,000 complaints have been dealt with successfully under this independent regulatory mechanism, and 2 to 3 well-established service providers, including WIPO, are doing an amazing job in the domain name dispute resolution mechanism. The panelists who decide these cases are panelists who are located across the world, and the system has proved quite effective. So I would say that the OTT and other broadcasters should take a look at this particular model in order to look at how an independent self-regulatory mechanism can in fact be created. The convergence of free-to-air broadcasting, pay television, DTH, OTT, VOD shows that there is a need for creation of an independent adjudicatory mechanism, which is not consisting of functionaries or broadcasters. In order to lend credibility, transparency, and fairness, the same could be under the aegis of an independent service provider. If media and broadcasting have to remain free and fair, they ought to evolve free and fair adjudicatory mechanisms which are not coercive in nature. Apart from the creation of independent regulatory mechanisms, there ought to be a method by which broadcasters are a part of this adjudicatory mechanism, so as to ensure that the code of conduct is compulsorily applicable to all broadcasters without exception. OTT and VOD platforms and other creative content providers should also be part of this. Such a system would also preserve the rights guaranteed under the Constitution of India while effectively providing for reasonable restrictions. This would also minimize the need for legislative and judicial interference in issues relating to content. OTT and VOD platforms are extremely cost effective. They provide easy access through electronic devices with the mere only requirement of an internet connection. They also cater to various hues and tastes and people in the privacy of their homes. These platforms also provide for growth and talent exposure to producers of content, artists, technicians, not just in the leading languages, but also in several regional languages. And this is a very big important factor in our country where the regional language base is very, very high. These platforms will in future coexist with traditional platforms and will carve their own existence in the years to come. Though OTT platforms had entered India in a small way in 2008, in the last 2 to 3 years, the penetration has been very high. The pandemic has in fact increased its growth, and hence there is a need for clarity in terms of the code of conduct that they ought to adhere to. Unchecked growth could also lead to sudden disruption, especially because there are local issues and sensitivities which could get affected. Sometimes the non-dealing of issues with alacrity could also lead to questions being raised about the integrity of these platforms. So I would just conclude by saying that the digital world should ensure that it remains a medicine for all and a poison to none. And in order to ensure that that happens, in order to ensure that that happens, the digital platforms have to themselves come together and decide as to what is the manner in which they would want to be regulated by themselves or by independent mechanisms. That would be the end of my address today.
Thank you very much, Madam. Although we had a little bit of issue with the internet, but a really thought-provoking address by you. In fact, the issues that concern us in terms of regulation on the OTT, we have similar issues on many other digital platforms that are emerging, which is the gaming sector and few other sectors. And I think it requires a huge amount of deliberation and a guideline that one can follow to see how the self-regulation mechanism can work in our country. And a lot of effort that Ficci actually takes with various verticals would definitely carve a path for self-regulation and special kind of advice, as you always do, from your side to Ficci and guide us is a welcome sign. And I think that's where we will be able to, under your guidance also, look at how we can carve these paths for self-regulation, which is one of the most important concerns of ours as an industry and the content creators, as well as the platforms that are emerging in this space. Having said that, I think it's an important discussion today, and I was taking you through the process of discussions that we're going to have today. We have a deliberation on Digital India Copyright Act, redefining the future of creative works. Around 12 o'clock sharp, we will be starting with this session, followed by a session at 3 o'clock on digital content regulation, learning from the best global practices. And I think this is where we are going to discuss the most debated topic right now on the digital content regulation. And at 4:30, we have content, technology, and business models, because we have seen a huge growth into this area, not only in terms of the content creators, but also the technology redefining itself and the new business models that are emerging. And we need to see how this can actually help us grow in totality. At the same time, the startup ecosystem in the digital content space and the social media space also needs the right kind of funding and the right kind of positioning in our country, with all the efforts that are going on through various MSME schemes to Digital India, to Make in India, and of course the Skill India mechanism that's going to help the thing. But just to mention here, we have a large team working on this from media and entertainment space under the guidance of Arun Chawla ji and Dilip Chenoy sir, and led by Leena Jaisani. We have Amit Tyagi and Samir Kumar, who is actually looking into this whole space right now for coordination. We are glad to tell you that in such a short time that we actually have put this conference together, we have 500 plus stakeholders who have already registered and are watching this program today. And we're going to see this discussions and question answers go through the day, madam. Before we actually conclude on this session, I would like to call upon Dilip Chenoy sir to make the concluding remarks and also propose the vote of thanks. Over to you, Dilip sir.
Thank you, Ashish. I think I'll skip the concluding remarks because you have actually very ably done that. But I first want to begin by thanking the Honorable Justice Prathiba and Singh for being with us today. Ma'am, in your address, you have actually taken your experience right from the bar when you are practicing, and you are a leading practitioner in the intellectual property space before you were elevated, as a judge. And your experience, your grassroots level experience, right from the day of cable TV days. Just as a matter of information, I used to work in the cable TV industry, and I violated every law in 1982, 83, 84, 85 by laying cable TV cables across different colonies and different. Even in a private colony, if you laid it from one house to the other, you were technically violating the Indian Telegraph Act. And those days we used to, very merrily violate the Piracy Act because the central head end used to show the videos into all the homes. So your experience and your phenomenal memory and your thing was a great eye opener to all the participants. You actually brought us to the current state, and your views on self-regulation of not all the players actually adopting to it, the need for all of us to get together, just reflect your not only your depth of knowledge but your currency of knowledge and your great interest and passion in this area. We could not have had a better person delivering the opening address today. I know you have said this is your third interaction with Ficci. I think in the last physical interaction when you visited our office, I had the pleasure of having tea with you and Arun, who is a very strong supporter of this initiative. And I'm sure we will, as things turn back to normal, we will have an opportunity to meet again. From everybody who is listening in, from the teams at NPA and Ficci, I'd like to thank you very much for being with us today morning. In fact, this is the 5th edition of this event, and it is the first, of course, which you're doing virtually, and therefore your presence here was very, we honored by your presence here. I would also like to thank Belinda Liu, President and Managing Director, Asia Pacific NPA, for her address. We've had a long association with NPA, and we work closely on industry issues and trying to address those issues jointly for the benefit of industry. And of course, Ashish has actually shared with you what we are doing here. Also like to thank all our partners, media partners, esteemed panelists and moderators who have taken time out to be with us today and deliberate on these issues. We appreciate your efforts, and my only request is that we need to follow Justice Singh's approach to actually enable the regulators and enable the whole ecosystem to be set in a manner that all the stakeholders are satisfied. I'm also thankful to Ashish for moderating this inaugural session and setting the stage for important discussions. Ashish chairs our animation, visual effects, gaming, comics, and XR forum of Ficci, and the contribution of this forum, this industry is immense. Of course, thank all the 500 plus audience who were here. A special thanks to all of you. I'm sure you'll have many takeaways during the day-long deliberations. And as Ashish said, thank you to Leena, Amit, Samir, and the entire team. And also a very special thank you for Arun Chawla for being here. All the best to the panelists and moderators for the upcoming sessions. And once again, ma'am, thank you so much for being with us. With your understanding, your depth of understanding, your wealth of knowledge, your articulation, we could not have had a better speaker for the inaugural session. So thank you, ma'am. And
Thank you.
I think with that, this session, the inaugural session, Ashish, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dilip sir. A big thank you to all of you for joining the inaugural session. I request all of you to log in at 11:55 for our Digital India Copyright Act session. And I think that's going to be a very important session for all of us. And thanks a million for taking time out and contributing to this ecosystem and taking this the fast track digital conference forward. See you at 11:55 sharp today. And through the day, we would enjoy listening to you, most of the speakers, and deliberations, which would basically lead into what's happening in our world today and which direction we needed to really go, and what would be policy that we all can actually contribute to, which would be better and a win-win for all the stakeholders. Thank you very much, and I'm closing on the inaugural session. Thank you very much again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Arun. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilip. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you.